Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Let's Match Warframe. Today we're going to be taking a look at a subscriber request from Vinicus Lima de Oliveira and revisiting a weapon that I reviewed quite some time ago. A weapon that I said I thought showed no potential whatsoever, the Glaxion. The Glaxion was one of my very early videos and perhaps not of the same quality as my most recent ones. So let's revisit some of the features of the weapon. Now the weapon itself comes with a base damage of 12.5, making it one of the lowest damaging weapons in the game. However, that damage all comes in the form of an elemental cold damage. The fact that this weapon comes with that base cold damage means it's going to combine amazingly well with either toxic to produce viral damage, electric damage to produce magnetic, or even the heat damage to provide blast damage. And this works especially well since the amazingly high status chance of 35% also means it's going to proc those elemental effects more often. Now if you're not sure why this is such an advantage, the reason is that with status, it has a random chance to proc anything on the weapon. So if the weapon has slash, puncture, impact and 2 elementals on it, there's a random chance of proccing any of those damage types that are on the weapon. However, with a weapon that's focused straight elemental, like the Glaxion, it means that you really can focus those proc types, making it a very effective weapon for spreading those status procs around. Now, as for other features of the weapon, it boasts one of the largest magazine sizes out of any weapon in the game, and also one of the largest total ammunition counts to go along with that. It does have some disadvantages, however, although not many to be honest. Firstly is the reason that it needs that massive magazine size ammo reserve. It really is a bit of an ammunition hog and it's going to eat through it very quickly unless you're disciplined with the trigger. If you can control it to work like a burst fire weapon, then the ammo should last a decent amount of time, although ammo restores or ammo mutations for those longer missions is probably not going to be a bad thing to think about. Another downside is the fact that you could mod the cold out of the weapon, and going for any of the elemental combos that use cold in it, then sadly the weapon's going to lose that slowing effect that the cold brings, although it's still going to freeze enemies when it kills them. However, this is purely visual and isn't going to slow them down at all, which is a massive shame. Arguably, the range of the beam is another downside, which is around 25 to 30 meters. However, in all honesty, unless you're in a longer range map like some of the interception maps, then it's really not going to be much of a problem and is going to be more than sufficient. Okay, so we've had a look at the stats of the Glaxion. Let's move on to how we're going to mod it. Now we are going to add 5 formats to the weapon, because this doesn't come with any polarities as standard, so we're going to add in 3 Vs and 2 dashes. Now we've got only 3 mods that are going to remain the same between all 3 of our builds. We've got Serration for damage, Split Chamber for multi-shot, and Heavy Caliber. Now I know it doesn't have a physical damage to boost, but that 165% damage, which is going to apply to the elemental, really is too much to pass up and is not going to be something that any elemental can actually do better than. So we're going to go with Heavy Caliber as well. Now for our Grenadier build, we're going to go full radiation viral, so we're going to go with Hellfire and Stormbringer, which is going to bring up that radiation damage. And then we're going to go with the dual stat Rhyme Rounds and dual stat Malignant Force to combine with Infected Clip as well to make viral damage. Now against the Corpus, we're going to go with Stormbringer, Cryo Rounds and Rhyme Rounds, which are going to bring up that magnetic damage, and Malignant Force and Infected Clip, which is going to bring up that toxin damage against the fleshier Corpus units. And for the Void, if you're not running Corrosive Projection, we're going to go with Infected Clip, Malignant Force and High Voltage, as well as the Stormbringer. Now that is going to combine, it's just obviously that's where the dash polarity is on my weapon, to combine and bring up the corrosive damage, which is going to help strip away that armor. And also we've got Rhyme Rounds in there as well to help boost the cold damage, which is going to help against the shielded units in the Void. Now if you're going to be running the full Corrosive Projection build, switch out Stormbringer for Hellfire, and then you can switch out High Voltage for that Cryo Rounds, and that will bring up full viral with a bit of heat damage in there as well. And this will do you very, very well in those longer run T4 survival missions, and it is going to, like I say, do pretty well for you. Okay, so now on to my recommendation as to whether this weapon is worth the effort, resources and the former. And the answer is absolutely yes it is. I have to admit, as soon as I saw the request for a Glaxion build, I immediately went, oh no, not this. However, I'm not ashamed to admit if I was wrong about a weapon. I previously called a Glaxion a fun weapon with absolutely no potential, even with former. And boy, I was wrong. Recently I've been having amazing fun using the Glaxion up until about 40 or 50 minutes in a T4 survival. With a full corrosive projection aura group, and the weapon running fire and heat, and it was still doing pretty reasonably well. This really has turned out to be something I am insanely surprised with. Pure elemental weapons have always been strong in Warframe, and I think that at the time I made the previous video I didn't really appreciate just how good it could be. More recent weapons like the Sinnoh Gamma Core have really changed the way I look at pure elemental weapons, especially since the Glaxion really falls outside the norm when building a weapon. It's very easy to look at the low 12.5 cold damage and immediately write off the weapon, which to be fair, the weapon is pretty bad without former, but absolutely transformed into an absolute beast when you fully build it. Now in terms of additional mods that are worth trying out with the Glaxion, Sinister Reach is an option if you feel the range isn't enough to deal with. Shred is also another option, however that needs some more testing as it seems to do some strange things to the beam and might not be applying the damage fully. So I'm going to do some more testing and I'll annotate this video if it's not working properly. And obviously, as I've said before, ammo mutation is always an option when running ammo heavy weapons like the Glaxion. However, this can be negated with ammo restores if you don't mind using them. So in essence, the Glaxion is a weapon that's easy to misunderstand and easy to write off on the face of those very low base stats. However, really surprises and turns into an insanely fun weapon after former is introduced to it, and one that I feel is worth the addition to anybody's arsenal. Now on to a quick thing from me. As you know, I like to do shoutouts in my videos at the end, and today the shoutout goes to DWG Chan Gaming, who's been doing some awesome content on Twitch and soon to be branching out into the YouTube scene as well. And as I've said before, live streams are always a place to go to gain information about the game and ask questions to someone that can answer them there and then. So feel free to check him out. I'll leave a link in the description below. And as always, many thanks for watching. Please remember to leave a like and subscribe. It helps me out a ton, and I shall see you in the next episode.